I am the Information Technology Coordinator for LaPoynor ISD, also known as Hey Computer Guy. I served the United States Navy Reserve from 1987 to 1995. First as an aviation boatswain's mate, launch and recovery equipment aboard the USS America, CD-66. Finally, in my reserve duties, I was a signalman, Beach Combat Support Unit, Amphibious Seabees 1 out of Coronado, California. I was lucky, and I say that with all truth, in that I never saw combat. I was in the reserves when Desert Storm started, and Fib CB2 got called to Desert Storm. We stayed home and provided support. I papered out in January of 1995, and about 4.5 months later, my unit was sent to Mogadishu, Somalia. And quite honestly, I was scared that I was going to get called back in. Anybody that tells you they're not scared of going to combat is either crazy or a liar. I was scared, and I did not go, and for that I am grateful. I'm grateful to the men and women who sit in front of us today who did. I am honored to speak to you today. The veterans that have joined us here are all integral parts of one of the reasons we are the most powerful and respected country on the face of the earth. We pay tribute today and every day to their service. Each and every one of our service members have provided and continue to provide fundamental protection to the prosperity of the United States of America, from Navy SEALs to Army Rangers, from mechanics to mess cooks, from ER doctors to field medics, from admirals and generals to privates and airmen. Our freedom is their gift to us, and for that we are most grateful, and for that we celebrate Veterans Day. In reality, how many of us actually know the history of Veterans Day? Colonel Thomas Gowanlock served as an intelligence officer in the American 1st Division during World War I. He was on the French front line a November morning and wrote of this a few years later. On the morning of November 11, I sat in my dugout in Le Grand Feu, which was again our division headquarters, talking to our Chief of Staff, Colonel John Greeley, and Lieutenant Colonel Paul Peabody, our G1. A Signal Corps officer entered and handed us the following message. Official radio from Paris, 6:01 a.m., November 11, 1918. Marshal Foch to the Commander-in-Chief. 1. Hostilities will be stopped on the entire front beginning at 11 o'clock, November 11, French hour. Just a note, that is the 11th hour of the 11th month of the 11th day. Keep that in mind. 2. The Allied troops will not go beyond the line reached that hour on that date until further orders. Signed, Ferdinand Foch, Marshal of France, 5:45 a.m. Now reading from 5.2 Statute 351, Title 5 U.S. Code Section 87 Alpha. Whereas the 11th of November 1918 marked the cessation of the most destructive, sanguinary, and far-reaching war in human annals, and the resumption by the people of the United States of peaceful relations with other nations, which we hope may never again be severed. And whereas it is fitting that the recurring anniversary of this date should be commemorated with thanksgiving and prayer and exercises designed to perpetuate peace through goodwill and mutual understanding between nations. And whereas the legislatures of 27 of our states have already declared November 11 to be a holiday, therefore be it resolved by the Senate and the House of Representatives concurring that the President of the United States is requested to issue a proclamation calling upon the officials to display the flag of the United States on all government buildings on November 11, and inviting the people of the United States to observe that day in schools and churches or other suitable places with appropriate ceremonies of friendly relations with all other peoples. An act approved on 13 May 1938 made the 11th of November in each year a legal holiday, a day to be dedicated to the cause of world peace, and therefore celebrated and known as Armistice Day. Armistice Day was primarily a day set aside to honor the veterans of World War I, but in 1954, after World War II had required the greatest mobilization of soldiers, sailors, Marines, and airmen in the nation's history after American forces fought in Korea. The 83rd Congress, at the urging of the veterans organizations, amended the Act of 1938 by striking the word armistice and inserting in its place the word veterans. With the approval of this legislation, Public Law 380 on 1 June 1954, November 11th became a day to honor American veterans of all wars. Later that same year, on October 8th, President Dwight D. Eisenhower issued the first Veterans Day proclamation, which stated, in order to ensure proper and widespread observance of this anniversary, all veterans organizations, and the entire citizenry will wish to join hands in the common purpose. Toward this end, I am designating the Administrator of Veterans Affairs as Chairman of a Veterans Day National Committee, which shall include other person as the chairman may select, and which will coordinate at the national level necessary planning for the observance. I'm also requesting the heads of all departments and agencies of the executive branch of the government to assist the National Committee in every way possible. The men and women who sit before you today are those whom we are here to honor. Those who chose to serve their country in the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard. Those who chose to serve their friends and family in the struggle for peace and democracy. Those who chose to serve you. I've heard many times people say, I support the troops, I just don't support the war. To those who think this, I say that if you support the troops, you must support the mission. The two are not mutually exclusive. You may not agree with our involvement in a particular war or a particular region, but regardless of the theater of conflict, if you want our soldiers, sailors, Marines, and airmen home safely and home soon, you must support the mission. And I find it ironic that while these folks may not agree with our military endeavors, it is our troops that fight for their very freedom to do so. They fight tirelessly. They fight tirelessly, without pause, without reservation, and without a second thought for their own lives. There is a saying, all gave some gave all. Our proud servicemen and women go fearlessly into battle for our sakes. Some come home whole, some come home with injuries, and some do not come home at all. I think it's extremely important that on this Veterans Day we remember everyone who has put on a uniform in the name of the United States. Measuring casualties of war as those wounded or killed in the course of battle, the following numbers will give you a small glimpse into the sacrifices made by our service members. In the Revolutionary War, there were 50,000 casualties. The Civil War, 645,000. World War I, 320,000. World War II, a total of 1.1 million casualties. To give you an idea how large that number is, the entire population of Dallas, Texas measures only 1.3 million. The Korean War, 128,000. Vietnam War, 210,000. Not to mention the War of 1812, the Mexican-American War, the Spanish-American War, the Philippine-American War, the First Gulf War, and Afghanistan and Iraq theaters, which are still engaged, total of 45,000 casualties. Looking around at the many veterans joining us today, you have to realize that in their service, they not only served in one or more of these campaigns, but they survived to return home heroes. Nowadays, our children look up to celebrities, actors, musicians, and sports stars as their role models. Not that all of that adoration is misplaced, mind you, there are a few of those worthy of that title. However, the real heroes are the men and women who put their very lives on the line for millions of people they don't even know. Greater love hath no man than this, that he lay down his life for his friends. Not only do these heroes lay down their lives for their friends, but for complete strangers. That is love. Love of country, love of freedom, and love of life itself. If you're looking for a hero, look no further than this room. In closing, I would ask one thing of each of you. Take a moment, pull one of these veterans aside, shake their hand, and tell them thank you. You will be amazed at what this simple act will do for you. And to the veterans in attendance, know that you have my utmost respect and gratitude. We will remember, and we will remember long after they have all come home. God bless. Thank you.